All right, everybody, I hope you are comfortable because I will be shocked if this video ends up being less than an hour long. This is probably going to take 3 business days for my internet to get this video uploaded, but it is what it is. Honestly, as long as I have been on YouTube, I really should have thought ahead of time that my I'm debt-free video would get a little bit of a bump from the YouTube algorithm and bring in some new viewers and new subscribers to the channel. And that was not something that I realized until after the fact. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of new people here. Welcome, by the way. And these people are probably going to be wondering what my story is. And I'm at the point now where I've been on YouTube for so long that, if you haven't really been here from the beginning, you're probably wondering what my deal is, basically. I mean, I mentioned in that debt-free video that I kind of have a very unique situation with my husband and I. He is Swedish and I am obviously American, and he still lives in Sweden. I live here. So, what I decided to do was create this very long video to basically get everyone who happens to be newer here on the channel up to speed with my journey so far. And I did make a post in the community tab asking for questions, and for those of you who left some questions for me to answer, we will get to those in this video as well. But first, I wanted to get everyone caught up to speed as far as my FIRE journey goes so far. And I'll try to get through everything quickly here, but yeah, that's probably going to be a lie because, I mean, if you're like me and you're on YouTube consuming this type of content, one of the things that I really love about following different channels that I follow is that you get to know the person, not just their financial situation or their strategies that they're trying to use to get to FIRE. You get to kind of get a feel for the human being as an individual, and you get invested in their story. And yeah, so for the sake of the people who are new here, who are like that, I will give you some context for me in this FIRE journey so far, how everything has gone up to this point. So my journey with my own personal finances here really began in 2017. So, I mean, we could go way back and start from the very beginning, but I will just sum it up and basically say that my upbringing was not like high class, upper middle class. I did not really have any financial knowledge handed to me from prior generations beyond just the very basics of that, debt is not generally a good thing, but always make sure you make your payments and, don't get yourself into financial trouble where that is concerned. And I mean, that was basically it. I had zero investing knowledge. I grew up in a divorced household. My grandmother also was a single parent. And that is, from a generation that typically is not single. But I am from Southern Appalachia, a very tiny town in the backwoods of North Carolina, and I have been fortunate enough to be raised by some very strong women. So I always had this deep sense of independence instilled into me, not to rely on any man to take care of you, essentially. Always be able to support yourself. But when it comes to things like building wealth and investing, these things were not things that were discussed at the dinner table in my home growing up. They also were not taught in school. And I think things nowadays are starting to change a little bit, and this stuff is being discussed more in schools as it should be. But suffice it to say that I had to learn this stuff as an adult who had already started to go down the path of debt and getting into financial trouble, almost. I will say that I have never had a late payment, a default, a car repossessed, lost a home or anything like that. But in 2017, I really started to feel the stretch of, I have a lot of payments. I don't make a huge amount of money. Yes, I can make these payments, but if one thing goes wrong during the month, then I am adding to an ever-growing credit card balance that is starting to stress me out. That is the point that I was at in 2017 when I started this whole entire journey. So, I think I did what most people do. And I went to Google and just, I had an inkling that step number one for me is probably getting rid of some of this debt. So I go to Google and search for how to get out of debt fast, and y'all know what popped up? Good old Dave Ramsey, right? Now, this is not going to turn into a Dave Ramsey bashing video. That could be like, Dave Ramsey is just a whole other topic in and of itself. In fact, fun fact about me, I was actually very briefly featured in Dave Ramsey's documentary movie, Borrowed Future, about student loans. I am probably going to reference a bunch of different videos in this video, so what I'll do whenever I'm going through and editing this, anything that I mention that y'all are interested in seeing, I will have a pinned comment down below with all the different video links for videos that I reference in this video, if there's anything that you're interested in seeing. So I believe you can watch Borrowed Future for free now on YouTube. When it was new and when it first came out, I think you had to pay for it. But anyway, there's just a little snippet of me in there, which was kind of fun to be in that documentary. And I do not want to bash on Dave Ramsey at all. I think that he's a good starting point for people who just generally have zero knowledge about how finances work. The very basic stuff you can get from Dave Ramsey, but there is a point where you can, and I personally believe that you should move on and start thinking for yourself when it comes to your finances. Anyhow, enough about that. But yeah, that's where I got my start. Just the very basics of, okay, really buckle down, create a budget. I had never budgeted before in my life, which is crazy to think about now. But, when you learn better, you should do better. And I started budgeting and started taking control of my finances instead of just feeling like I had nothing left at the end of the month and where did all my money go? I could actually see it. And honestly, that budgeting was the very foundation for what really changed my financial outlook here. So I started budgeting, and I was following some other channels on YouTube about budgeting and personal finance, and I enjoyed it so much that I decided to start my own channel. So fast forward to 2018, and I have started my YouTube channel. I've already been talking for 10 minutes, and we're just now getting to the start of the YouTube channel. Yeah, this is going to be a long video. Anyhow, so 2018, I decided to start my own channel because I just really enjoyed consuming this content and I wanted to contribute to it as well. I loved watching other people's stories and getting invested in their journey, and everyone's story looks a little bit different. So my story is definitely not perfect, but it's my own journey, and if other people can take inspiration from it, learn from it, then that is a wonderful thing. So I decided to start my own channel here, and early on in my channel I knew about FIRE, kind of. I had just started to really discover what it meant and how it was achievable for me. If you happen to stumble across my channel on the debt-free video that I posted and you have no idea what FIRE is, it stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. So that entire concept to me, growing up like I did, the thought of early retirement or even building wealth, always seemed like something that was not attainable for me, being just a lowly layperson, a peasant like I am. You hear about rich people and people who might retire early. Well, that, takes money, and money is not something that I have. This is always what other people have and other people do. But when I started to learn about the FIRE movement, it was like a light switch came on for me. Early on in my YouTube days, when I was watching a lot of Dave Ramsey content and budgeting content, I kept getting videos suggested to me about the FIRE movement. The Choose FI podcast was one that kept getting suggested to me, and thankfully I started to listen to that podcast, and it really was a light bulb moment. In one of their videos about FIRE, and if I knew the specific podcast I'm referencing to, I would list it below, but I have long since forgotten which one this was. But by all means, check out the Choose FI podcast if you're new to the FIRE movement. But in one of their podcasts, they likened discovering the FIRE movement to that moment in the Matrix where Neo wakes up from the Matrix and, he's coming out of the goo and pulling all of the cords off of himself. That is exactly how it is to discover the FIRE movement. Once you see it and understand it, realize that it is attainable for you, you can't unsee it. And I think that is both the best and the worst thing about the FIRE movement. Because for someone like me who understands it and also wholeheartedly knows deep down in my soul that this is the best thing for me, I kind of obsess over it. And I realize that it's probably an unhealthy thing to be as focused on it as I am. I mean, you have to learn to enjoy the journey. At this point in my journey, I am just over 50% of the way to my FIRE number. So I am in the messy middle right now, and you need to learn to enjoy the journey because it's a long one. This is a years-long process. And yet, I just keep focusing on FIRE so hard. It's just like the only thing that I want out of life. And I feel like my life is on hold until I can get to FIRE. And I am well aware that that is not a healthy mindset to have. But there it is. That's where I'm at this point. So unlike many people who discover the FIRE movement, who happen to find out that they are already well on their way to FIRE, they've always kind of had a frugal mindset, they're natural savers. I was not one of those people. I discovered the FIRE movement with a very negative net worth. Yes, I was making all of my payments every month, but my net worth was negative. So I very much was starting behind the 8 ball when it comes to reaching financial independence and retiring early. However, again, learn better, do better. Learning about the FIRE movement was a pivotal point in my life. It forever changed the trajectory of what my goals in life were, what I wanted out of life. I had always just assumed growing up that what you do is go to school, pick a career that you think you can do until you're 65, that you might be interested in, that pays well enough to support yourself. You do that career until you're 65, and then magic, you retire at that age and live the rest of your life. That's what I thought life was. And until I discovered the FIRE movement, I never really questioned that. And I don't know why, because there are several other things in life that I have questioned about whether or not the norm is what I want. But for some reason, I never questioned this growing up. I always just assumed that that is what people do. And I guess I just assumed that that was the only option for me because it made the most sense. I mean, yes, you need money to live, so how do you get money? You work, you have a job. So, all of that made sense, and I never really thought to question it. So when I discovered the FIRE movement and started to learn about investing, how to grow wealth, what the 4% rule is, all of these things were mind-blowing and paradigm shifting for me. So learn better, do better. Now, At this point in 2018, when I started my channel and I was working on my debt, starting to budget, wanting bigger things out of life, I was married at this point to my now ex. And if you've been with me for a long time on the channel, then you kind of went through that whole thing with me. And by whole thing, I mean the divorce. Honestly, my ex-husband was not something that came up on my channel very often. He generally was not super supportive about the YouTube channel or excited for it. But beyond that, you guys, I have to say he's not a bad person and I wish him well, but when it comes to that growth mindset that I have, the whole learn better, do better, what I really wanted out of life, once I discovered this FIRE movement and that larger goals were attainable for me and for us if he wanted, I wanted to work towards these things. I wanted us to dream together, to build together, to, to actually have a partner that I could talk about anything with and grow together. And guys, I mean, to keep this video from getting too long and rehashing the past, that growth mindset was not a part of his identity. So I agonized probably for about a year on whether or not divorce was going to be the right choice for me, and I just kept hoping things would get better. I would try different angles to try to get him on board with at least dreaming together, and there were just some things that were never going to change about him. So rather than how a marriage ought to go, with people growing closer together over time, we grew further apart. So once I realized that that is something that was not going to change, I knew that if I just hung on because we were married and, you should try to make a marriage work no matter what, is what they say. I realized that if I did that I would become more and more unhappy as time went on. And y'all, life is too short to be unhappy. So even still, though, I agonized about that divorce for a year before I actually asked for it. And, I was sad afterwards, and I think y'all saw some of that on the channel. But, I had already pretty much done my grieving for the marriage in that entire year where I was debating whether or not to even do the divorce. And after I had asked for the separation and we split up, I gave myself about a week to really kind of just mourn what could have been, because I had already been sad over what was for that entire year leading up to the divorce. But I gave myself about a week to kind of be sad about what could have been in that relationship, and then I was just over it. So that was in 2020 when I finally did ask for the separation and divorce. So from 2018, the start of my channel, to 2020, it was just me trying to get him on board. I was working on everything alone financially as far as getting myself out of debt and, trying to build for the future and getting into a better place. I had my house that we lived in. I bought my former home in 2014, so this was before I had ever met him. But yeah, I had my former house, and I think that was part of the reason too, really, that triggered this whole financial thing for me, was that yes, I had a mortgage payment on my own and my own house, and I was starting to feel the squeeze of all of the debt and then trying to maintain a household by myself. I was making it work, but it was a challenge. So anyhow, that was 2020 when I decided to finally just let things go that ought to be let go. And after I had given myself the proper time to kind of just be sad for what could have been, I picked myself up by the bootstraps like I always do, And I just continued on the fire journey by myself. And, I had the thought of, I would rather be happy alone, and I can do this myself, and I will. But I still wanted deep down that partner, somebody that understood me, that had the same goals, had that same growth mindset like I do. But on the other hand, with me working towards fire, y'all know if you've been with me for a long time on the channel, I work a lot. I will take overtime at every opportunity to further the financial goals, and it was no exception back in 2020. I was picking up extra shifts right and left. If you are new to the channel, I work in healthcare. I work third shift. I'm an ultrasound technologist, and I work in an ER. So, healthcare life there, and third shift life, and picking up overtime during the pandemic meant that I knew that if I wanted to put myself out there on the dating scene again, oh my God, that it was not going to be easy. I barely had time for myself, much less trying to find a partner that would understand me, right? But around that time, I had heard about, and I believe it was another Choose FI episode podcast, I think. I had heard about a dating site for specifically fire-minded people. So I had to check it out. And I think this is one question that I had from one of you guys. Yes. So Christine Wallace, she asked, how did you meet your husband, and why doesn't he move to the States with you? We'll definitely get to that. But that is how we met, quote unquote, I say. I posted my profile on this fire dating website, right? Because I knew in my mind that if I was going to put myself out there, this was such an important part of who I am as a person and a goal that I have out of life and what I want to do, that I needed to find somebody who at least understood what the fire movement was and would understand what it is I'm trying to work towards, right? So I posted my profile on that fire dating website back in October of 2020. And y'all, I am pretty sure that it was not even up there, but for a couple of days. And I get a message from my now husband, Christopher, that said, hey, I recognize you from your YouTube channel. I like your profile. And we just started talking. And, and y'all, I did have just the thought briefly. I was like, what if you put your profile up here and somebody recognizes you from your YouTube channel? I would die. And then I thought to myself, no way. Get over yourself. At the time, I only had about 1,400 subscribers on this channel. So I was like, there's a snowball's chance in hell of somebody recognizing you from your YouTube channel on this site. So get over yourself, just post your profile and see what happens. Be open to whatever happens. But sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So Christopher, reached out to me and we started talking. He did recognize me from my YouTube channel, which honestly is why he sent the message in the first place. So really, if not for this channel, we would have never met. So that's just the universe working in mysterious ways there, I guess. But yeah, so he sent me the message and, we started talking, and of course, very early established that he is Swedish and lived in Sweden, and, I'm here in the States, but at the same time, we just hit it off really well and kept talking back and forth. We got to like each other more, and this was during the middle of the pandemic. There were travel bans going on at the time, and the more we talked, the more we liked each other, and the more we just decided to kind of wait out the pandemic and see how things go and plan on meeting up someday, This whole time that we're talking back and forth, we think, all right, just a few more months here at most. A few more months at most. And then the pandemic will be gone and the travel restrictions will be lifted and we can see each other and we'll see how it goes. yeah, 10 months later, the travel restrictions finally were lifted and I was able to go over to Sweden and we met each other. And y'all, at that point, we knew each other so well that we just hit it off. I think, honestly, very early on, both of us knew that this was a thing. All of the things that make me who I am, my growth mindset, my fire goals, my ability to just learn better, do better, my drive, all of these things that were not appreciated before are the very thing that Christopher loves about me. So this is why I say, like, life is too short to be unhappy. So yeah, here I am now. Me and Christopher got married in January of 2023, and we got married at the Ice Hotel in Sweden. It was an absolutely magical experience. We did do a Q&A video a while back that I will link to down below in the pinned comment, and I'll try to put some of these video links at the end of this video as well if you want to click on them and see them and get to know him a little bit too. I'm pretty sure when we did this Q&A video, though, I think that we were still planning on him immigrating over here at that time, and sad how innocent we were back then, thinking that, sure, this would be no problem to immigrate and get together. And, we went ahead and got married because we figured that would help the immigration case, and it would have if we had decided to pursue that, but yeah, we have not. So I guess while I'm on topic here, why doesn't he move to the States with me? It's a whole can of worms, guys, but to answer this in the shortest way possible, there are laws between both countries that make it very difficult and financially not the best choice for us if in the long term we would like to be in Sweden and both retire there early and live, and that's what we would like to do. There are FATCA laws in the US that makes things difficult for him. It is just a whole thing. And because it's so complicated and because financially it would be a huge hit for him to come here and then us both go back over there, and then I would take a financial hit going over there, we just decided that until I get to fire, it's best for us to just keep visiting back and forth like we have been doing, and eventually I will fire in Sweden. Now, with all of that said, y'all can probably see why this whole situation with my work lately has been such a problem. So before, my work would always allow me to take 3 weeks of vacation at a time, and it ended up with the way my schedule was, I could take about 3.5 weeks off, and that's a pretty decent chunk of time to be able to go over to Sweden and visit, and Christopher would fly back over here with me, and then he would spend a month over here, and so we would have a good bit of time together, right? Well, now my work is wanting to start giving me problems if I want to take more than 2 weeks off at a time. So that is going to be a problem for us. I mean, not for us. We are in it to win it for sure, but it's just making the drive for fire even more, if that's possible for me. I mean, I honestly feel like my life will not begin until I reach financial independence and retire early. I know what that sounds like. I know that's an extremely unhealthy way to view this journey, but y'all, consider it from my perspective for a moment. I am a third shift worker. I am almost 40. Even when I do have time off from work, I can't really flip-flop onto a day shift schedule to do anything to enjoy my life. I am getting too old to be able to flip-flop back and forth from day shift to night shift. I could do it when I was younger, but I cannot do it anymore. My thyroid doesn't work anymore, so I really struggle with flip-flopping onto a day shift in order to have any kind of life outside of work. So I am currently filming this, and it is dark outside. It is past 9 o'clock. So, yeah, there was another question actually that brings me to, as far as what I like to do during my off time. Cecilia Runs said, I've been watching for many years. I always wonder what you do besides work. I know you travel and have a mom close by and a dog, but I've always wondered what else you like to do for fun and adventure. Curious from a budget perspective. I'm on a fire journey and I always seem to have setbacks due to life stuff, travel, buying new bikes, going out and spending too much with friends, etc. So, yeah, this is a good point to answer that question. So, Cecilia Runs 72. One thing I do not do is run. But yeah, that kind of gets to your question, which is, I live a pretty boring life right now. Since I pretty much stay on third shift even when I'm off work, I really don't do much, if I'm being honest with y'all. I mean, my third shift life just consumes all. What I like to do for fun is play video games. I mean, I will do that at night and do this YouTube channel. Now, if I was off of this schedule, if I had fired and I was free, what I like to do is I like fishing. I love gardening. I like to go hiking and camping. Last time I went to Sweden, my husband and I did all of these things, and I mean, that was the life. That was the dream right there. And I plan on doing a lot of that after I fire. But again, y'all can see here, after fire, it's like my life is on hold. I can't even be with my husband, much less live a life until I get to fire. And that's just the fact of the matter. Some of you may be wondering, why don't I just go to day shift? Day shift is not something that I would ever do. It is higher stress mentally, and I would lose out on a third shift differential, so I would earn less money. And with me and my fire goals, that is just not acceptable. I would rather grind out my third shift job, possibly take on a second job like I mentioned in my debt-free video, and just grind things out as quickly as possible and get to fire faster. I will not go to day shift. So that's where we're at as far as that goes. And while I am answering some questions here as we get through my story, another one of you asked, I think it is Heike Ost 6833. Hope I said that right, probably not. I would like to know if you ever thought about working in Sweden, if it's possible you could move there earlier, and greetings from Germany. So, yes, this is something that I definitely considered, and we certainly looked into it for me. The trouble is, me being an ultrasound technologist like I am. So, first of all, in Sweden, if you're an ultrasound technologist, you are pretty much a practitioner of some sort, like a midwife or a doctor. And that I am not. I just do ultrasound. I am an imager. And if you want to go that route in Sweden and just do imaging, they pretty much expect you to also be able to do other modalities like X-ray and CT. And I do not do that. Here in the States, ultrasound, I mean, they keep you busy enough that you're just doing ultrasound for a living and that's all you do. And then also, not to mention the language barrier. I am trying to learn Swedish. Jag försöker att lära mig svenska. Men jag går långsamt. Det är väldigt svårt. So yeah, learning the language, I would need to speak Swedish fluently, and I am a long way away from that, you guys. And actually, Heike Ost 6833, I don't know if you know, but Ost in Swedish means cheese. And I love cheese. But anyway, yeah, so the language barrier, the fact that my job looks different in Sweden, even if I could do it, and then third, what job postings we saw for ultrasound over in Sweden, it seems like I would not make as much money doing it there, and also the taxes are higher in Sweden than here. I mean, yes, you do get a Swedish pension, so there's that, but you combine all those things together, and it just did not make sense for me to go over there and try to do ultrasound for a living. Again, if my ultimate goal in life is to just be free from having to work, which it is, then the fastest path for me to do that is to just stay here and grind it out. And unfortunately, you know, Christopher, he could immigrate here, absolutely. But with all the immigration laws and tax laws between both countries being what they are, it just did not make sense financially for us in the long term for him to move here if we decide to move back there. So again, I'm stuck. Like, I really do feel stuck. Like, life will not begin until I get to fire. So, where are we at there? Yes, married in January of 2023. Essentially, through all the years that I have been doing this YouTube channel, I have just been, at the very least, sharing my monthly budgets with y'all and going over the debt payoff, where the money goes every single month. I will say that here in recent years, and I did get a lot of flack for this, you guys, but I will say my piece about it anyway. In recent years, I did start a channel membership for this channel because as my channel grew, I know I'm still a very tiny channel when it comes to some others on YouTube, but nonetheless, you never really know who's watching. And as my channel grew and as my portfolio grew, I was less and less comfortable with sharing all of my investing accounts and what I'm investing in, all of those numbers publicly. If you have been in the finance space on YouTube for more than 5 minutes watching channels out there, then you see all the spam comments that people get on their YouTube channels. And y'all, there is some person behind these spam comments out there. So you can't be too careful. And the more my portfolio and channel grew, the less comfortable I was about showing all of those things publicly anymore on the channel. Now, when I created my membership, I got accused of this being a money grab, but y'all see what my income is every month on my budget spreadsheets. I don't even make enough on YouTube to get a payout every single month. It's usually every other month, if not every third month, that I will finally cross that $100 threshold. So trust me, I am not making bank here on YouTube. It's less than $1,000 for the year since I've been monetized on YouTube. So anyhow, and when I started my membership, it is $2.99 a month, which YouTube keeps like half of that. So that's not a money grab, okay? I'll just say that. But if you are interested in what the actual numbers are for my portfolio, what brokerages I use, the things that I'm investing in, even my speculative investing that I did and still have, all of that I talk about more in the channel membership section. And I will say that we have not had one single spam comment in that section since I started it. So it's not much, $2.99 a month, but that is enough to keep the spammers to just move on to some other channel. So that's why I do it. You know, it's less than a cup of coffee nowadays, thanks inflation. But that's why I did the channel membership, and I will show all of my portfolio numbers and things in that section. But I do obviously show my percentage progress to my FIRE number publicly still on my budget reviews every single month, which brings me actually to another question that I did get And this one came from Amy Colucci 6769. I'm new and have been binging your videos. Thank you. I know you don't share your net worth or anything, but would you mind sharing what your goal for savings is so you can move to another country with your husband? So the thing about that is my savings goal to be able to move to another country, unless you're just talking about cash, which actually I haven't really come up with how much actual cash I'm going to need to move over there. That's so far away that I haven't even considered that, honestly, at this point. But if you're talking about like what my overall savings goal is to be able to just declare myself fire and move to Sweden, like I can't share that number publicly because then you can just do the math and figure out what my net worth goal is to move to Sweden. So yeah, I really can't share my savings goal publicly because it's just too easy to do the math and figure out what my net worth is. So obviously, when I move to Sweden, I will sell out of everything here in the States that I have. This house, my car, everything. I will take all of that money, move to Sweden, and immigrate there. So my net worth is what my goal is for moving to Sweden. Now, if you are a channel member, then you know what that number is. But I will say, with the taxes over there being what they are and the laws being what they are, the more that we have looked into this stuff, the more it is clear that the number goal I have is going to be a very lean fire goal, which is why I will likely keep working even when I do hit that number. I will be fire at that point. It's just going to be lean fire, and I would much rather have a little bit of safety cushion there before actually pulling the trigger and immigrating to Sweden. So reason being are all of these tax laws and things. And yes, I do know that Sweden and the United States have tax treaties, and there are double taxation laws that are supposed to prevent people from being double taxed when you have accounts and you live in one country. And like, for instance, I would be living in Sweden, but I'm an American, so I have to file American taxes every year. And there are laws between both countries that mean I shouldn't be double taxed on my accounts. The problem is there are some Swedish laws out there that basically mean Sweden does not view retirement accounts in the same way as the American laws do. So there's a wealth tax in Sweden that does not exist for America. So I will be getting that wealth tax because I live in Sweden. And then when I want to withdraw from my retirement accounts, I will also be taxed from America. But because those are two separate taxes, it's not counted as being double taxed, even though I am. So, you know, it's not ideal, but I mean, that's government for you, right? The government just has to nickel and dime you to death, right? So again, I mean, that's just another reason why, yes, I have a lean fire net worth goal in mind, but I will likely keep working even when I do hit that number, just to be on the safe side. So if you want to know what that number is, you got to be a channel member. And I mean, if you want, you can be a channel member. You can go through the videos in the channel member section and then cancel your membership if you just want to know what it is, and then you can stop your membership. I just did not want to share my portfolio, my investment accounts, those real numbers publicly anymore. It's just a safety thing. You never know who is watching. It is way too easy to find out someone's identity nowadays. So it's just a means to protect myself. And we are now at 50 minutes of me talking here. I knew this was going to be a long video. But, you know, I've been on YouTube for years. So if you are new here and just interested in the journey so far, but you can't go back through years of YouTube videos, I understand. I get it. So that's why I decided to do this video. At this point, where am I at? Yes, we got married in the hopes that it would be easy for Christopher to move over here and we would live together until I got to Phi and then retire to Sweden, but that was not meant to be. So here we are, just stuck apart in the long distance relationship, which actually does bring me to another question that I got from Vicky Mendoza 9252. She said, I've wondered how you and your hubby decided to have a long distance marriage, and how did you meet? Well, I did address the how we met part. I've had long distance relationships before we were in the same country. LOL. I sure hope you get your PTO so you can go to Sweden. Man, you and me both. But yeah, the whole part about how me and my hubby decided to have a long distance marriage, we really didn't. It wasn't up to us. We would be together if we could, but these regulations, these laws being what they are, the further we have gone down this rabbit hole into actually pulling the trigger and doing it, the more we learned, but the more we realized that it would not be a smart thing for us to do. So it sucks. It really does suck, you guys. It's out of our control, but both of us having that growth mindset, that long-term mindset, we understand that for the long term, for the two of us together, this is the best thing right now. And it sucks that the best thing is this. It's not what we want. Again, I feel like I am stuck. My life is on hold. I really have no life until I get to fire, which is why I am so obsessed with just grinding out my time and getting there as fast as I can. I know it's insane to think about working 2 full-time jobs and do 6 12-hour shifts on third shift every week, but time is gonna pass anyway. Here I am filming this video at the end of April. It is almost May 2024 already. Time flies, and I may as well be making more money to get to fire faster. That's just how I see it. If I am physically able to do it, and I am, then I should try. Because, I mean, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I can't really flip-flop onto a day shift schedule like I used to be able to in my younger years. So on my nights off, I'm really not doing anything exciting or really productive besides making some YouTube videos. There's really not much going on a night off for me. So I may as well just look into finding another job. And as tough as that would be, you know, considering my work situation recently with this PTO, my paid time off requests, getting some pushback, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have my foot in the door elsewhere. So, brief update on that, since I made my debt-free video and the May budget plan video. I have applied for a full-time job Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. That's pretty close by, and that is just still to be determined. I have not gotten an interview date or anything for that yet. So that's where we are as far as that goes. If that doesn't work out, as of right now, there are a couple of third shift travel positions out there that are far enough away from me that I should be able to qualify for them. You have to be more than 50 miles away from the facility, and I am from these. So as long as the nights are weekend nights, then I should be able to do those. But yeah, I'm just doing one thing at a time right now. I'm going to see how the full-time job works. That is not a travel position. If that works out, then okay. If it doesn't, then I can start looking at these travel positions again and see if one of those might work out. But basically, I think that really brings you guys up to speed. I mean, honestly, I do have a playlist of every single budget review video every month from the beginning. If y'all really want to see the nitty-gritty of the story up to this point so far, my whole reason for sharing the budget reviews on this channel is to just show that a normal workaday person can do this. I am not typically a 6-figure earner in my job. I have earned six figures before, but it's because I bust my ass and pick up overtime, and I've made it happen before. And if I take on a second full-time job, then yeah, I'll be well into the six figures. But if I can stick it out for an entire year anyway. But just working my normal hours, it's not something that is a six-figure job, working in healthcare doing ultrasound like I do where I am. The things that I have had working for me is I do live in a low cost of living area. And again, the repeating theme throughout this video has been learn better, do better. The single biggest thing that I did that boosted my net worth and helped along the fire journey so far, the thing that has made the most progress for me thus far in this short amount of time really, is choosing to sell my old home when I did at the peak of the housing market in the area. I made absolute bank on that house, and then I bought this house intentionally, a small fixer-upper home that needed work, but I got a good deal on it. And I did make videos about that as well. I made a video about my old house that I had. So yeah, I will link to that down below, and I made a video about the before and after on this one, and I'll link to that as well. But just the very basic numbers for some reference if you don't want to watch those videos. My old home that I had, I bought in 2014. It was a 1-bed, 1-bath, detached 2-car garage, a cute little place. It had almost 5 acres of land with it, a nice mountain view. And just for context on how real estate is, or at least was, in North Carolina, I bought that home in 2014 for $105,000. That would be unthinkable for someone living in California, for instance. But that was the case for me. Now, it was out in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, but that was fine by me. I don't mind rural living. I was raised in a very rural area, and I kind of like it, to be honest. But yeah, so I bought that house in 2014 for $105,000, and I sold it in the end of 2021, beginning of 2022 for $247,000. So that has been the one thing that has really pushed the journey along for me. And now there's a lot of people out there who would say, oh, well, you just got lucky. No, I didn't. That was an intentional choice by me to give up a house that I liked, but I knew was not my forever home. It was my choice to give that home up and push this journey along faster. I like this house where I live now, and it's a nice little neighborhood in this area, don't get me wrong, but this is not my forever home either, and I am in the middle of town. It's not really ideal for me, but at least I am closer to work. I had an over hour-long commute at my old home, and now I have like a 30-minute commute. So yeah, this was the right choice for me. And yes, this home was a fixer-upper home, and I did have to invest a lot of money into it to get it the way that I want. But it was the right choice to make for me, and that really boosted the journey. So between that and me just having the work ethic that I do, that's how I have gone from a very negative, multiple tens of thousands of dollars in the negative net worth when I started this channel to my net worth that I'm at today, which if you're a channel member, you know what that is. But I have made some serious leaps and bounds progress over this relatively short amount of time, despite the fact that I am not typically a six-figure earner at my job. So, and that's the whole reason I wanted to start this channel, was to show that it can be done. And you know, from the early days in my channel to recent years, all of the numbers were shared in my budget reviews every month. Even my net worth and investing numbers, But just here recently, I have decided to take those net worth and the investing numbers and keep those private, just to be on the safe side and keep some degree of privacy. So, you know, if you're not a channel member, I totally get it. I am not a member of anyone's channel on YouTube. I get it. But if you do want to know, it is an option that's there for you. So yes, we just crossed an hour of me talking on this video. Of course, not edited yet, but that is essentially the situation that I'm in. It is kind of an odd one. I get it. It's weird to have a husband 5,000 miles away and us not living together. Me trying to pursue financial independence, retire early, just that in and of itself is not what people typically do. It's an interesting life, but I know that I'm going to get there. I have to, because like I have mentioned, I just feel like my life is not really going to begin until I get there. There's nothing that I want more than just my own time freedom. Literally anything else that I would like to do with my time is contingent upon me being free. I would like to live with my husband. I would like for us to be able to travel and do things without having to ask permission from my job and not being limited on the amount of time that I can have off. It's, yeah, everything I want to do is contingent upon me getting free. And I know that that is the fast track for burnout in the pursuit of fire, but I'm already there, guys. I'm already burned out at my job. So, I may as well be making more money. That's my thought process there. Time is going to pass anyway. I'm already burned out at work. I know for a fact that the grass is likely not greener at another facility if I wanted to find a new job and just quit the one that I have. I'm sure every facility has their own problems. I know for a fact they do. So, you know, this is just something that I am doing right now until I make it to fire. And then I can be free and have my own time again. You know, if we were going to fire here in the United States, I would probably consider backing off of work and trying to go a coast-fi route, taking a part-time day shift job somewhere and just not working as much as I do. But considering that this is the situation that we're in and we want to be in Sweden to fire, ironically, because of healthcare is a big reason. Yeah, that's why I just want to keep working as much as I possibly can. So life has definitely changed from when I first started this channel. And while my long-term goals look different than what I ever could have predicted when I started this channel, as far as where I'm going to be after I fire and what life will look like after I fire, the one goal that has not changed is fire itself. I will get to financial independence and retire early or die trying, you guys. It's gonna happen. So that's what I wanted to start this channel to show, that process. And I know that I really enjoy watching others trying to get to fire in their own time. So if I can draw inspiration and motivation from other channels, then I hope that people do the same thing watching my channel. So to wrap up this very long video, I will just go through and read all of the other questions that I got that I have not addressed thus far in this video. One question that I did get came from Dakota Dak 100. I'm wicked interested, you must be from up north, I'm wicked interested in what your next goal is now that you are debt free. Okay, so my next goal, I am so focused on just getting to fire that that's really all I can see, which I think if you have made it to this point in the video, y'all probably realize that I have an unhealthy amount of desire to just get to my fire number and be completely free. But You are 100% correct. I should have some other short-term goals because I'm in the messy middle of getting to my fire number. So, I guess in the short term, the main thing that I want to be focused on right now, since I am not near my fire number yet, only halfway there, I do want to see consistently every month in my budget review videos, and y'all can hold me to this, but I would like to consistently see a 60 to 70% savings rate every single month, as long as I don't have any other like major expenses like a plane ticket. You know, if I do go to Sweden in May, it's going to be an expensive plane ticket. So, you know, that's obviously going to affect the savings rate because I only have so much money coming in every month. But that is very much worth it considering the situation that me and my husband are in. So I will gladly pay $1,500 for a plane ticket over there to spend some time together. I would gladly pay double that. So, you know, that just is what it is. But on months when I do have big expenses like that, then obviously I'm not going to get a 60 to 70% savings rate. But otherwise, I would like to see that every month. And if you are new to the channel, to fire in general, you will find that people do calculate their savings rates differently and what they count in their savings rates versus not. So for me, all I count in my savings rate is my principal mortgage payoff every month. Basically, I just count anything that will actually increase my net worth. You know, my car is paid off now, and then I also count anything that goes towards investing. So that includes pre and post-tax investing, and I also include my employer match in my savings rate every month. So what I do basically is just count my pre-tax investing, including the employer match, as income for the month when I make my savings rate calculation, because I mean ultimately it is going to be income for me eventually. So I just count that as income and then factor in saving that amount of money. So I know that it artificially does kind of increase the savings rate for me every month because, you know, eventually I will spend that money and it will be taxed. But honestly, if I want to try to figure out what the future tax rate on that amount of money is and then factor that into the savings rate, that is just getting way too far into the weeds for me. So, yes, I do realize that my savings rate is probably slightly artificially higher than what it should be if you really wanted to get technical with it. But that's fine. You know, the savings rate, I could claim that it's 100% every single month, but I'm still not going to be at my fire number, you know? But ultimately, I will get to my fire number whenever I get there. The savings rate is just something that I find motivating for me to look at month to month because it is a long journey to get to fire, and the savings rate is something shorter term that I can look at that I find motivating as far as getting me to fire faster. So as far as my next goal, I guess that's really it, to make sure that now that I am debt-free, that I am having the highest savings rate I possibly can every month. And honestly, now that I am looking through, I actually did address all of the other questions I got. There is a comment in here, I hope you get approved the max amount of PTO so you can visit your hubby in Sweden. Congrats on debt freedom, from Pamela. Yeah, I hope so too. And just a small update there as far as my vacation goes. Since I did find you know, someone to cover my hours for me. Granted, she's a traveler, but it does sound like, at least at this point in time, that my employer, they are looking at getting those 3 weeks that I requested covered for me, since she is willing to work. So that's where we stand there. I haven't gotten anything official yet, but, you know, fingers crossed. Hopefully they will let me have that time off because, you know, I'm really going to try to get some kind of second job whenever I come back from this trip. I don't know whether it'll be just a temporary travel job or if I'll get this permanent position that I've applied for. You know, we'll see what it is. But if I can get this vacation approved, it's like my one last hurrah over to Sweden to visit for a while with my hubby. And then when I come back, it's going to be nothing but grind, y'all. If you are a channel member, this should be a pretty interesting time to watch the channel because if I get this second job, then the amount of money that I throw at investing every month is going to be pretty staggering. And y'all will get to see exactly how much money I am throwing into my investing accounts and where it all goes every month. So, yeah. That covers everything that I got as far as questions go. I know that I did have a whole bunch of people that subscribed to the channel after that debt-free video, but the fact remains I am still a pretty small channel in the grand scheme of things on YouTube, so I didn't have a ton of questions, but I did want to address the ones that I got. So that should cover it. If y'all have made it to the end of this one, cheers to you, because I bet by the time I get through editing this one, it's still going to be quite long. But again, I've been on YouTube for years now, so there's just no way you can sum up a years-long journey in 10 minutes or less. So there you have it. I hope that you guys have enjoyed if you made it all the way to the end of this one. I certainly do appreciate you if you have, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye, y'all.